And do you think that psychedelics can ever be offered within a Western medical paradigm?
Well, I mean, I think the medical paradigm was essential for socio-political legal reasons. And that's why that's why there was an initial emphasis on treatment-resistant depression and anxiety, those kind of things, because that's actually how it works. It works within the legal codes, it works within the system to say, okay, if these people are absolutely out of options, then we might allow something more radical or innovative, etc. The thing that we're missing is why would we use it? What is the ethic of use? What is the orientation? And it feels to me like, at a minimum, there's at least like 3 super functional uses for peak states in general. I mean, psychedelics are a use case, but they're not the only one. But it's the idea of, like, first of all, is metronome. You know, I am out of step with life, the pulse, the rhythm, but I don't know for sure, right? I'm busy, I'm hectic, I'm distracted, I'm all these things, and I drop in to a psychedelic state or any other, skillfully produced ecstatic space, and I'm like, oh, this is where the one is. This is where the metronome is telling me the beat is. And I can correct. I might have been half a beat late, I might have been half a beat early, whatever it is, I can correct. And now I'm on the one. And the next one is tuning fork. Again, running and going through life, we bump into things, we get hit, we get hurt. Our instrument, our bodies, our brains, our hearts, our minds gets knocked out of whack. And we're just suddenly, we think this is a C, but it's actually C sharp, or we're a little bit flat. And we're like, oh, okay, I'm trying to play with others, but I'm actually sharp or flat. Let me tune my instrument. And so the metronome and the tuning fork do a beautiful job with that. And if you think, to continue the musical metaphor, musicians all use metronomes and tuning forks, but they don't spend their entire day fiddling with knobs and strings and flipping the pendulum back and forth. The moment they've got the one, and the moment they've got a clean C, they go off to make music. They either practice it themselves or they go jam with others. And I think that's the relationship we really need with psychedelics. Not that we just constantly, you just hit the bell, fiddle the knobs. The idea is, like, get yourself in tune, get yourself on time, go jam. That's the point. The point is to go make the music of life together. And, and the final one is a little bit just sort of training wheels. And I think this is one where the once in a blue moon psychedelic experience, once in a lifetime, once a year, whatever it would be, needs to be supplemented. Because what we're missing, I think, are the sort of the weekly Sabbath. Can we dust that bastard off and reinvigorate it? Because the once a month, the once a season, solstices, equinoxes, whatever the hell, take your pick on calendar preference. But what do I do recurringly and periodically? Because one of the things that the research that MAP's been doing with MDMA therapy, right, is that it does something very specific. It shifts your neurochemical profile. And actually, Rick Doblin was just sharing with me the last time he and I talked that the closest neurophysiological analog they've found to somebody in an MDMA therapeutic dosage session is post-orgasm. And it's a state of satiety, right? You have oxytocin, you have prolactin, right? You've got an increase in serotonin. Basically feelings of safety, security, belonging, well-being. And that actually allows people to relax their vigilance response, turn off their amygdala and their threat scanning, and have a little bit of distance between themselves and their stories and their past pains. And that alone can be transformational. So what is it like for us to have to supplement the once in a blue moon notion of deep psychedelic dives with the idea of what are we doing one day out of 7? What are we doing one day out of 30 or 90? And can we use those experiences to defrag our nervous systems and really open our hearts and expand our minds and say, okay, now I've got a sense of this. I have a somatic marker for how this feels. Can I use this experience as training wheels? Can I actually go into the next day, the next few days even? How long can I keep this up? How long can I practice living from a more courageous, more vulnerable, more open state until that becomes muscle memory, until that becomes as familiar, right, as my old contracted reactive state. And I think that's that combination. It's sort of shoot the moon once in a blue moon, right? Integrate the hell out of it, and and much more regularly in smaller doses can I do the metronome tuning fork training wheel game and live into the better angels of our nature, live into what my highest, most generous, expansive self might be.
And if you've been documenting this culture for quite a long time, what would you say that you're at now? Are you sounding the alarm? Do you think that anything can be done to mitigate the kind of the dangers that you've spelled out?
Yeah, I mean, I was rather than sort of sounding the alarm because no one's going to fucking listen, right? That's the other trouble with the psychedelic movement is it's antinomian inherently, which means, not subject to deference to authority of any shape or form. It's why, in the 50s and 60s, the US Army started dosing soldiers to see if they could use it as a disorient on the battlefield. And, one of the unintended side effects was a bunch of enlisted dudes who were like, what the fuck am I doing in this uniform? And I'm going to just put this gun down and I'm going to go home now. So I think that Jeremiads, from positions of authority, highly unlikely to work. But what I would say is actually more, rather than a warning bell, more of a clarion call, which is, hey, good news, folks, is we have access to a higher concentration of ecstatic and transformative technologies, social technologies, than any humans ever have on the planet, full stop. And we may not have the luxury to linger in the transition. And you can assign this, you can say, hey, these are earth changes and higher order things all conspiring to provide us these tools at this time. And some folks do. Some folks will make a case that like ayahuasca has an agency and an intelligence, right? And it's coming into this world, not unlike the Dalai Lama saying, hey, the Chinese had to come and do horrendous things in our country to blow us out of Tibet, of that isolation, to bring the Dharma to the West. Kind of just so stories of the psychedelic renaissance. I don't think you have to go there. You could just simply say, hey man, shit's happening and it's here. But it's here just in time, and we might not get the chance to gawk and dawdle in the magic and wonder of our own transformations. It may be like, here's the tools, folks. Wake yourself up, rip the fucking Band-Aid off, and get your wobbly legs about you, and then you're needed. Like, we are needed. This is not to become this self-obsessive, recursive, endless personal journey game. Maybe the hippies got to try that. We don't. We're all needed, and we're needed at full strength. And not just in ourselves, but with and for each other. And so that would be my, if I had anything to share, it would be that. Like, we've got the tools, now we have to use them, and there's not a moment to spare.
Great. Jamie, thank you.